or if they've lost, are they going to try and find a flight to then get home accordingly? So therefore, the resourcefulness is great. 20 years ago, I'm not sure, before the days where the internet was that well developed, or iPhones existed, or stuff, or smartphones, or whatever. Okay, I'm sure there would have had to have been a different dynamic. Whereas nowadays, everything's at fingertips. So if a player has won, great. They need to perhaps organise accommodation for that night. Okay, or if they haven't, is there a flight I can get to go to save a night's accommodation, or am I going to stay tonight and then try and find something tomorrow? Okay, with us being here in Sunderland, Newcastle Airport has got a reasonable number of flights into Europe, of which obviously players are using that as an airport to then go where they're playing next.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about the paychecks. So they literally get given the money as did Donski come to you and say, "I'm out, Richard, I'm gone."
I mean, there's three ways of doing the prize money. There's doing it as cash, there's doing it as old style cheque, okay, or there's doing it as bank transfer. We choose to do ours as bank transfer because it's just probably in modern day and age best way of doing it. So therefore, when he's finished, he will come. We'll issue a prize money receipt which is generated from the software for the tournament. Okay, he'll sign that prize money receipt. I'll sign that prize money receipt. I'll put it into a spreadsheet, and then at the end of the tournament, the players will get paid by bank transfer.
Right, and you said that that's not enough to sustain them, so they must be looking at that sometimes and going, "Oh man, I really wish I hadn't hit that forehand into the net on match point." But in the ITF, I know you don't work for the ITF, I think you work for the LTA.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you a quick question on the ITF. I know it's whether you can answer me or not is another matter, but what do you think that kind of the purpose of this kind of tour is? And is it achieving that purpose? I know they went through a bit of a restructure for this, into the transition tour and then the other side of it. Do you think that what the ITF envisioned is actually going to come to fruition through this change?
I think the ITF's goal with this level of tournament is to create a pathway for players to progress up to the next level. Okay, but the bottom line is that from a numbers point of view, if there's 1,800 men in the world with a world ranking, and approximately rankings on the women's side go down to WTA go down to about 1,200. Okay, quite clearly, not everyone can rise up through that. So there will be some players who plateau and then decide that, hey, I need to find another source of income or another way of life or whatever. Okay, so therefore the players, they can't all progress, but it's actually through the tour trying to give players the opportunity. So someone like Mark, as he said earlier, I mean, he made quarters in basketball, made quarters in Glasgow, minimum of quarters here because he's in tomorrow's quarter-final then, is the fact that his ranking will go up 100 or so places, or should go up, which maybe gives him a chance to start looking at a few ATP Challenger events. Exactly, and gives him maybe a shout in there. Okay, you've got someone like Jack Draper, who's one of our up and coming players in Britain, who is on the cusp of that already. Sometimes he's playing $25,000 events, sometimes he's going into ATP Challenger events. Okay, because of his age and because it's very much a long-term pathway for him, it's important just to keep getting a balance. That he's, if he just went and played Challengers all the time, would that be the right balance? Is it good for him to play a mix of both at the moment?
Because he gets a measure of success in these. So he made the final last week in Glasgow, of course, Jack, and I've seen him on the he's done very well on the Challenger Tour this year as well. Yeah. So maybe he's looking at more. Not playing as much ITF events and getting onto the Challenger.
Absolutely. Okay, and I would think undoubtedly over the next 12 months you would anticipate that being the case. Okay, and then but that's where the pathway moving into ATP Challengers sort of sits there. So these events are really to give a sort of a bit of a springboard, but not everyone can actually go through that springboard because not everyone can all move up to the next level.
So it's a very difficult task at this level to kind of balance both sides of the coin, as it were. A couple of kind of more light-hearted questions kind of to finish off. I've said to Mark earlier, I've been following the ITF Tour for a long period of time now, and the order of players come out every day, and I just wonder, is it like a jigsaw puzzle to try and put all the pieces of that together? I've noticed that, I don't know whether this is kind of coincidental or not, but on Tuesday all the Swedish players seem to be on court 1 and the Dutch players were on like court 6.
Exactly that. That's part of that will be coincidence, but also part of it could be where there's a coach that's travelling with more than one player.
Yeah.
Okay, to try and if a coach will sort of come and ask and say, is there a way? So if the coach had both of their players, one playing on court 1 and one playing on court 6, quite clearly they can't even see see both of those courts. So therefore, there would be a time whereby someone that's actually, if they've asked that, it might be that they're either following on from each other, okay, or side by side, so at least the coach can actually keep an eye on from there. So there's an awful lot of equation. There's if someone's playing singles and playing doubles, that comes into the equation, because if someone's playing doubles, you don't want them to be the last singles of the day going on, because they'll run out of time to then play their doubles, okay. And so there's and there's requests that come in from players, which doesn't mean to say you can actually
have what you want,
have what they want, but at the same time try and sort of put that into the whole equation. The main draw was split over playing on Tuesday and Wednesday, so some players sort of put a requested that could they play Tuesday, others requested could they play Wednesday, okay, for different circumstances, and hey, you just try and... And
it comes to today, we're recording this on Thursday, and that's kind of second round day, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Everyone... Yeah. Is it all of the second round
Absolutely.
on both?
Absolutely, so we're now into a round a day for the singles and a round a day for the doubles. Okay, so there's quite a lot goes into that schedule, okay, in terms of thought, but you're not going to be able to please everyone in terms of which court they can play in or what time they're playing.
You've got it licked now, though, haven't you? You know what you're doing with it, and is it just like a jigsaw puzzle that you know how to put together now, and is it less arduous these days than
I think, I think so, and also the software that we have on the computer means that you're not doing everything manually like you would have in the past, so it will flag things up. If you're trying to do something that wouldn't work, the software will pick that out a little bit and say you can't have that person there and there because you're not giving them enough rest time, or something like that.
And Mark mentioned in his interview there, in fact, it might have been off interview, but saying how much he bribed you to get into the tournaments. That's obviously completely untrue.
Yes.
But have you had any interesting requests from players in the time that you've had?
You hear of things where players have actually sort of said that, if I pay you some money, can I get a wild card or something like that? I mean, personally, I've never experienced that. Okay, but I have heard stories where that happens, but that quite clearly is illegal. It's against the rules of the circuit, and I think if there was a tournament director that was accepting that, I think they'd probably be struck off as well as the player.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%. Right, well, thank you for your time. Okay. Go back to scheduling tomorrow's events or whatever it is you've got to do. Just thank you for coming down and chatting to us.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
And finally, we just caught up with Samantha Murray Sharan just before she was about to leave for the day, having done really well and put in a good victory earlier in the day to make it through to the quarterfinals. Sam is from Stockport in Cheshire, not too far away from where I was born and grew up, and she's very experienced. She's 32 years of age now, but has finally been healthy for the last year or so, which she talks about in our interview, and is getting herself up the rankings to an interesting position where she's on the verge of kind of what tournaments she's going to be planning. So when she's talking about planning her schedule, it's a really interesting listen. So hope you enjoy what she has to say. Hi everybody, I'm joined here by Samantha Murray Sharan, currently playing here at ITF Sunderland, and had a victory this morning, so congratulations on that first of all.
Thanks.
So at quarterfinals now?
Yeah, quarterfinals tomorrow.
And you know who you're playing?
I play Amandine Hess. I've not played her before. So.
Okay. French led.
French, yeah. I played her in doubles a couple of weeks ago, but not singles.
Okay, so good luck for that tomorrow. And well done for today. Just basically, I wanted to ask you all about kind of not all of your career, but about what you think of the ITF Tour and your time that you've spent on tour and kind of the events that you've played. But would you maybe just start with telling us kind of how you first got into tennis and your transition through kind of the junior part of the game?
I started tennis quite young, probably about 5. My dad started my brothers playing local, just local squads, club things, and I joined in, and then I sort of played all through club, county. I played some ITF juniors, not a lot because I was in full-time school, So I just played whenever I was allowed out of school.
And you say you play county there. Did you? Was it Cheshire you represented? Or?
Yeah, I was from Cheshire. Yeah, so most of my training was through county squads, really.
Okay, and obviously you're kind of my age, late 80s. Would you say that was more the way it was back then? Has it changed a little bit, kind of, with the tennis centres that we've got now? Was it more county based back then? Or was it starting to change even then?
Where I was, there was the option to go to the National Academy at Bolton, but I decided to stay where I was because I didn't really want to move schools. So there were a couple of options, maybe similar to how it is again now. It's obviously changed quite a few times in the meantime.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I thought you'd be a good person to ask, because I hope you don't mind me saying, obviously you've been around the tennis scene for quite some time now and been really successful as well. But how did you find the transition into playing kind of the senior stuff more than obviously the county thing?
So, I mean, I say I played county squads, but I always played national tournaments through juniors, national, and as I said, some junior ITFs in the UK or a few abroad, not too many. And then I played some pro events, sort of 16 to 18, but then I decided to go to American college. So I went that route. I did 4 years there. Was that
on a scholarship for tennis?
Yeah. So it wasn't as common to go then when I went for the women. But we had a really good team. I played a lot of tennis. I wasn't sure if I wanted to play pro, which was why I went there. I know I wanted to play tennis, and then I decided to give it a go afterwards when I was 22.
Because it's kind of come back into vogue now in a way. A lot of collegiate players are getting a lot of success now on so do you think that's maybe a better way to go if you're not quite... If you've got do you have to have a lot of academic skills to be able to go there as well and do that? Or?
It varies by which university you want to go to. I mean, they all have different acceptance standards. It is more popular, obviously. The more people go, the more people talk about it. The level's getting better, and there's a lot of opportunities to carry on the tennis if maybe you're not sure what you want to do, or financially you might be restricted, or maybe you just like tennis but you don't want to go pro and then change your mind afterwards.
Yeah, so you kind of left the collegiate system at 22, 23 sort of age, and then did you start playing kind of in Europe then, or did you stay in the States for a bit?
I started playing at 22 then, so I came back home after graduation, sort of had to decide what I wanted to do. I took maybe 3-4 months off and then thought I'll give tennis a go, and I started training in the UK, and then I think I played a few in the UK, but then just wherever I needed to be really, mainly Europe to try and get a ranking.
And what was the aspirations kind of then? Did you think I want to make it to a Grand Slam, I wanted to make it into the top 100 or even higher than that? Or did you remember back?
To be honest, I think my plan was to play for a year and see what happens, see if I enjoy it, see if I can play, see what standard I can get to. I didn't really have any, I guess, high aspirations like that, because I really didn't know what level I was capable of.
And so you must be delighted with kind of how it's kind of gone from that decision. I think you won obviously singles titles on the ITF Tour. Are they all in the UK, the ones that you've won?
Yes.
Yeah. It just happens to be like that. And you've won obviously a lot of doubles tournaments as well all over the world. When you're planning your season, do you start kind of in the off season in like October, November, December, and think what you're going to do for the whole year? Is it just a couple of months in advance? How does that kind of work for you?
For me, it's not that far in advance. I sort of look a couple months at a time, because especially with the ranking I'm at right now, it's quite hard to plan, because I'm borderline getting into WTA qualies. There aren't many 100s, 80s, 60s around, and the 25s are tough, so I'm constantly looking to see if I can get in slightly higher events, so I can't judge it, and then I have to just see where I'm going to be a few weeks in advance. So I have an ideal schedule, but as has happened this year, I haven't really got into the events I wanted to.
And do you have a full-time coach with you as well, or so do you plan that? Do you look at it together, or is it just kind of on your head?
No, I train at the academy, and the coach I work with works with a few other players. He travels